Hello everyone and welcome to ROZANA'S Lounge, where speaking grief is no taboo. My name is Rosanne Katunge, grief and loss expert and founder of ROZANA'S Lounge. Now, I discovered that if you ask the average person, do you want to talk about grief and the people you love dying? They'll be like, no, I do not want to talk about it. But if you just open the conversations and start talking about how hard and how difficult it is to lose someone or something we love, then everybody wants to talk about it. So there is this sort of weird thing that we say, we do not want to talk about grief, but please, can we talk about grief? So today marks the beginning of our candid conversations about grief. I will start by defining grief and discussing some basic and general truths. So what is grief? Now, grief is an experience that we all have anytime we lose someone or something that we love. It is an emotional response to the loss, and it is part of being alive and being human. And it's a process rather than an event. The first truth is grieving is a highly individual experience. Grieving is a highly individual experience. So no two people grieve in the same way. No two people grieve in the same way. And therefore, there is no right or wrong way to grieve. So how you grieve depends on a number of things. It depends on your personality and coping style, your life experiences, your faith, and how significant that loss was to you. So there are lots of different styles and ways of grieving in which many people do not realize. Because grief is so personal, we tend to shove it under the rug, which is probably why it is always so difficult to speak openly about it. The second important truth is that there are no timelines to grieve. There are no timelines to grieve. There is no normal timetable for grieving. A common misconception about grief is that there is a linear timetable that one must pass through to come to terms with the death of a loved one. Unfortunately, we cannot control how long it takes or how many times it starts over. Now, because we do not speak about the realities of grief, we find many grieving people thinking, gosh, it's been 1 year, 2 years, 10 or 20 years. Why am I still so sad? What is wrong with me? Well, I'm here today to tell you that there is actually nothing, totally nothing wrong with you, because you're just being human. Now, the third truth is that grief is life-changing. Grief is life-changing. Following grievers' stories as they talk about who they lost, the same words punctuate each sad story. I will never be the same again. So, when you experience the death of a loved one, you are never going back to who you were. It is who you are now, who you've become now. Now, because you understand life is precious, so you treasure it more. Now, because you know what it means to feel vulnerable, so you learn to be strong. Now, because you've lost somebody you love, so you treasure others even more. Lastly, grief is not a problem to be solved. Grief is not a problem to be solved. I think we have all these ideas that grief is something to fix and move through it quickly, put it behind us as soon as possible, so that we can go back to our normal and happy life. And because we do not talk about grief in our culture, we don't really understand what's normal. What we need to know is that grief is not a problem. It is a reality. So grief is a reality, a natural experience of love and pain. Secondly, grief is not something to be gotten rid of or to be fixed so that we get back to life. Grief is life. Grief is life. So, if we want a culture where we can speak the truth about our pain and hear the truth about other people's pain, then we need to open these conversations, and the tabooness of grief in our culture will cease to exist. So we urgently need to open these conversations, and the tabooness of grief in our culture will cease to exist. So, thank you so much for joining me in this journey. I will be seeing you again next week. Until then, always remember, grief is the price we pay for love. God bless.